And joining me on the podcast and on video, it's Vadim Alexandre, Head of Healthcare, SP Angel. You're Vadim.
How are you doing, Justin?
Yeah, good. Now, we often say the markets are ahead of the actual news and what's happening. And like I said, we've seen, the AIM all share, in fact, the FTSE 100 has been in a bull market for a while now. FTSE 250, which is more in line with AIM, I suppose, more domestically growth stocks and growing companies, that's in a bull market. AIM's in a bull market. And in fact, let's share the screen with you. You can see this here. I've put the bull on there so you can see that. If it helps. So at 803, there he is, sitting on the line at 803. We've had a good rally, from, in fact, if you go back even further, this is the second sort of wave. The first wave was from October, up until here, which is a good rally. And then again, broke the bull into bull market area. We're having a little pullback. That can be expected, like it had here, I don't think it'll be as long as this consolidation, which was from almost December to April, because now interest rates are coming into focus more clearly. And we've had, I think the Bank of Canada, Central Bank of Canada, reduces rates. And today, the ECB, they are at the moment 4%. They're lower than us anyway, but we are doing better than them economically. But they are predicted at 1:15. So if you listen to this, it's gone that, so you'll know. But they're predicted to drop it by a quarter of 25 basis points by a quarter of 1%. So I know, in fact, in America, I think, talking now, the market rallied yesterday on job openings being less than expected. I think they were seeing 175,000. It turned out to be 152,000, which is, of course, they're seeing maybe the economy slowing down there, which would need stimulation. That would obviously dampen down inflation, and so interest rates coming down. So it seems to be happening, doesn't it?
It does. It sure does. Is it felt in small caps yet? Not really.
No.
Some are rallying. There is a bit more activity. We saw Angle do a raise yesterday, I think, the proposed raise. So yeah, things are starting to move again.
Explain Angle as a chart here, a bit of a tank in there over the last few years. But I've heard this. Quite a few people, there's some big fans of this stock.
Yeah,
and it does tend to rally and then pull back, and then, like I said, it's come down a lot from.
Has a long history, without question. It has a very, very long history. This company.
120 it was in almost 2 years ago.
Yeah,
and that's
well,
15 pence.
Like the rest of the biotech rally, right?
Yeah.
So what you see there in that big mountain that went up and down, that's COVID, right? All of that was the COVID period, right? So they're in the area of diagnostics, specifically in oncology. They've created their lead product is a product called Pharmaceuticals, which is basically it allows you to capture cancer cells that are circulating in your blood. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you can take those cells out and then analyze them further and get a better idea of what kind of cancer you have. You can see how that's beneficial. This is what in a whole area known as liquid biopsy, where instead of biopsying the actual tumor, which is quite invasive, you do a blood test. And then you find out what that tumor looks like, because the tumor sheds cells, it sheds DNA. There's other types of blood tests out there, RNA, DNA tests. But cell types are also a feature of, they're called circulating tumor cells. The benefit of their test is actually that you can analyze the cells. So, you can take the cells out and analyze them. So that's essentially their device. They have had a long history to get to this point, but they're finally at a point where they're commercial. They put their results out yesterday together with the announcement of a fundraise. And they're raising up to 10, or we're raising up to 10.5 million. I can't remember what the open offer ended up.
Yeah, 15 pence it was. So
15 pence. The price was 15 pence. Yeah. But the open offer was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I can't remember what the closing amount was, but let's call it 10 million after the open offer, roughly. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Results. There you go.
And the key here is this the last financing? You know what I mean? Is it the last one? They say in their announcements and their proposed placing that they hope this to be their last financing. Or when I say last financing, the financing that gets them to cash flow neutrality. Okay. So they did 2.2 million in 2023. They said in a previous announcement that their revenues are going to treble this year based on contracts and visibility. That'll make it 6.5, 6.6. And I think, it's supposedly going to the moon afterwards. So fantastic, power to them. I hope it works. And I hope they manage to increase, ramp up revenues aggressively enough to be cash self-sufficient. Do I think it's really the case? I mean, how many times have we seen companies get that wrong? I can think of a few, Shield and a few others.
Well, many companies. I mean, do you know what I say? One of the things I sort of I've learned and I've talked about. I say, be very wary when companies said they're going to be profitable. I mean, the only proof in the pudding is the figures. Figures are fact.
Is only
Everything
being
else is opinion. Yeah,
exactly. So there's still a big gap because they're burning a lot of cash. Okay, so they had cash on their balance sheet. You have it there. They had cash and cash equivalents of 16 million right there, right in front of us. You've put it right in the middle of the screen there. And then they've raised another 10, so let's call it 26 million. But they're burning like 20 a year, if not more. So now that burn is being offset obviously by the sales if they ramp up aggressively enough. So they're saying that by the end of 2025 they'll be cash neutral on a run rate basis. Okay. And this raise will get them there. I suspect, I can't help, this is all speculation. I suspect it'll require another round in the future, but not imminently. So, they'll be able to deliver something on this round. And if we can all see that the revenues indeed are doing that, then, it's moving in the right direction. 2.2 million is not enough. 6.5 million is starting to look better. And if it's 2.2, 6.5, and then 12, we're getting there. I'm talking about like this year, last year 2.2, 2.3, 2.2. Sorry, last year 2.2. This year, if they actually treble that to 6.6 and it goes on to 12 next year, then irrespective of a raise or no raise, the company's on the way to getting there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's been a very hard market for companies, high cash burn companies, even if they're cutting edge of technology with potential upside. Because, like I said, it's been hard to raise, and with interest rates coming down, I think it'll maybe help a little bit. The markets will rally, and I think a lot of markets will rally. But just looking at that, I mean, if they trouble is operating cost 23 million.
That's huge burn. Huge burn.
That's not going to go down that much. I mean, it's gone down what a million and a bit from last year. But even if they get, like you say, even if they bring it down a million and a bit again, so you get 22 million. They still got a long gap to cover that. So at least they've got 12 months anyway, haven't they? Sort of runway at least.
Exactly.
And so
maybe even a bit, well, I don't even know if it's a bit longer, really. It depends on how revenues are doing, right? So if revenues start to pick up as aggressively as they claim they are, but something tells me it's not going to work out always to plan, and there'll probably be another cash call in the future. But do I the way I'm looking at it, I'm not a holder currently of the stock. We don't act for the company or anything like that. This one's on my watch list. Okay. And I wouldn't probably have participated in this 15p round. I'm waiting to see, well, obviously the market can get away from us, and in the next year we could have a boom in the markets again, and then I'll eat my words. But I do think that one more placing is probably a way. That's what I'd be looking to buy in the next one, not this one.
There's no rush because you get these spikes and they come back down.
Exactly.
And if you want a sustainable rise, it's got to be they've got to be able to get to like cash flow positive, and that's where you get multi-year sustainable rises rather than these spikes coming down. Good for trading, but literally you don't have to just jump in and jump out all the times. It's a stressful game, that trading. And most people get it wrong. If you look at any of the sort of platforms that do trading and spread betting, there's 70% of retail investors lose money. And I think it's a heck of a stat to get over. So three people pretty much make money in that. And
to get the timings right, exactly.
They're highly disciplined people who do that with trading strategies they've been very honing for years. And they've gone through the period where they've been part of the 70% losing money. And most people just drop out. Okay. Oh, by the way, circulating cancer cells, that's the same kind of thing that Lunglife target, isn't it? I think Lunglife AI.
I'm not that close to Lunglife, so
okay.
I'd have to. If you call it up, we can just quickly check.
I'm sure it is. And they're another company where potential is huge there because
and their shares have been under pressure like everyone else. But I've seen their shares rally recently in the last year from roughly around these levels, 20p, all the way to 120p, and they've come all the way back. So, this is one that I think also, once they get their funding sorted, is one to watch.
Well, I did buy it right here,
That's it. That's what I'm talking about.
and
It's
it
not
did rally like
rallying.
crazy. And I bought so much, I bought a bit more, and then I had too much because I couldn't even deal with it through my normal investment account.
Okay.
I got opened an account with IG, but then I couldn't really get out because it was so illiquid. And that taught me a lesson about. In fact, if you go onto my website now and the MicroCap League, everything I look at the volume, average daily volume, and everything, and put it into a pounds denominator as well, so you can see how liquid a company is. Because you've got to be, aware of your position size. If you've got a company like it's literally trading a volume of 4 grand a day. It's ridiculous. The spread's going to be big. If you
Yeah.
take a position of a certain size, you can't get out. If you
Yeah.
even try and get in, it just moves the share price up before you anything. Oh my! So you've
Especially
got to be
when
careful.
it
Yeah,
goes up 5 times like it did in that rally. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
All of a sudden your okay position is 5 times bigger and it's even harder, you know what I
yeah.
mean, to find enough buyers. Yeah, exactly. It's just
I got out of a profit, but it was very hard, and they
yeah,
couldn't even fill the orders. So it's like I thought, oh my
yeah.
word, this is going to be yeah. But I think they're into circulating tumor cells. What
So
was their news
let's
thing? Was
quickly
it
see here.
cash? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I did one of the things with me. I read about a company, I learn about it, then I forget all about it. But let's sort of like circ, what do you call them? Circulating tumor cells. Do you see they're called? Yeah, there we are. It's a blood
Yeah.
test that uses circulating tumor cells
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
stratify indeterminate lung nodules,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so similar
There
to
you
that.
go.
Is it?
So
Okay.
it's becoming a hot area. Well,
Mm,
liquid biopsy is a hot area.
mm.
There's different strands of it though. There's some people are isolating cells, some people are isolating DNA fragments and RNA fragments, so much smaller, right? And one would argue, and I kind of am a proponent of this. I like Angle, and I'm keeping an eye on it because I do think there's a trading my trading strategy is I think there's an opportunity when they finally show that the revenues are picking up and we can bridge the gap with one final round. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that
yeah,
final
yeah,
round, I might get it wrong because it might be at a higher level in a better market, but I'm just not prepared to buy it right now because if they get it wrong on the 6 million or whatever, and I think they've already said in their latest announcement that they're expecting it to be back end weighted, which is another thing that is a bit of a concern, right? So they're
mm,
tracking, I think, 1 or 2 million this first half, and it'll be more back end. So, anyways, all this to say that that's the kind of thing that is still uncertain. So worries me, and I don't want to pile in ahead of a bit more visibility on that. But anyway,
yeah.
long story short,
Yeah. Go on.
long story short, just back on circulating tumor cells, there is another area with these fragments that is becoming really, really quite successful in identifying something like 15 of the top, cancers from a very simple blood test with quite high sensitivity and specificity. So like something like 80, 85% currently. And that once that gets above 90, we've got a test that's very solid. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
that doesn't require analysis of cells or anything like that. It's just like if you flag up in a like this battery test, which is a very simple test, simple blood test, then you immediately just get referred to an oncologist, or well, maybe not right away to an oncologist, but you certainly get referred to your GP to go do more testing. You see what I mean? And that's kind of the future of oncology. If we can get tests that pick up cancers non-invasively like this with a blood test
mm,
very, very early, then it quickly gets to us removing tumors or ablating
yeah,
cells even before they ever become a cancer. And
yeah.
that's kind of where we're going right now.
Exactly. Well, look at this. You should do some research on Lunglife. It's very interesting. I did, before I invested, I thought, well, that's amazing because the tests, they can extrapolate these tests. It's like if they, 1.8 million deaths from lung cancer were recorded in 2020 globally. Nearly 80% of all lung cancer in the United States are diagnosed in later stages. And this is
Mhm.
where they come in. They don't have to be invasive. They're blood tests, they use AI as well. And
Yeah,
they've done this enrollment of 425 participants. And they're delighted by the findings showing strong positive predictive value of 81% in
yeah,
discriminating benign cancerous lung nodules in patients with smaller nodules. And these are the nodules often missed or they're
yeah,
indeterminate, they can't pick them up. So it's a very good sign. And in fact, another one in this area, which is quite hot, I suppose, it was hot. I mean, I don't know if you know OBD, Oxford Biodynamics. We talked about
yeah.
that
With the
before.
prostate cancer test,
Yeah, with
exactly.
PSC tests. And
Yeah,
that was phenomenal. So game changing when they came out, in fact, let's look at the chart. I know you can look straight away when they came out with this stat, and they said it'll improve, I think, the PSE test, OBD, from 55 to 95%. And so that was it there. So you can see, it literally did how far it got?
So
It did 156% on that day, and then kept going up. But since that day, and I said, never jump in on stuff like this sometimes because they'll come back down. And look, so it did 328% in
yeah,
literally 9 days or less sessions than that, open sessions. But and now it's back to where it was pretty much. So
yeah,
they've raised money as well. I think it's raised money. So but they're talking about all different things. But it's like I said, we talked about this when they were getting commercial traction. The same with Polarean.
yeah,
It's okay having a tech that seems to be groundbreaking, but you realize the people who are going to be operating this tech, they've got, it's a very complex way of getting into these systems, getting into these corporations, these hospitals, whatever.
yeah,
And just because they're not just accepting your tech, it's a rigorous, process you go through. And then you have to get budget to constraints and you have passable tests. It can take years, can't it? So
yeah,
even if you've got groundbreaking tests, you're not going to break in very quickly the next day just because you release an RNS. People don't say, "Oh, come on, let's get it in the hospital." It's harder than that, isn't it? In fact, there is news today actually about the epi switch, that's the prostate screening blood test, to be using correlative studies of the NACI trial for prospective monitoring for biochemically prostate cancer. Where's this? FDA registered trial. Okay,
so
this
it's
will be over 5 years.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But it's all about monitoring, right? So that's the whole thing. But it's interesting. It's just that the NCI is interested in their test, so that's good. I mean, they're using it in their
yeah,
trial, or so that's good. That's a positive thing.
yeah,
But I guess the point, and that was always my concern. Fundamentally, we've discussed it here on
yeah,
OBD on Oxford Biodynamics, is that you're not going to just go out there and replace the PSA test is the current test, right? And it's very, very weak, like in terms of its like I think that's what they were saying. It's about 50, 50,
yeah.
50 or
How much did they
60%.
raise here? They raised about 9 million, and this is in March. And so, what's the market cap now? Because they've raised that. This is another company. I literally was researching this after Destiny Pharma did well. I was
Mhm.
researching the biotech company. I was researching this literally in the weeks up to this thing, and I thought they're burning too much cash, and that's what put me off. And then
Yeah.
literally, they released that news. Like, oh, so they are now a 25 million market cap, pretty much, and they've got what 9 million probably. But yeah, so that's fundraising. But in
I mean,
September,
fundamentally,
when they
that
released
company
that
has an
news,
adoption issue.
was it by? Come on.
They have an adoption issue. They have to get their test adopted, and
Mm,
if they don't hit
yeah,
their revenue figures, it's going to be another cash call.
yeah. There we are. So it's gone from the PSC boosts PSA from 55 to 94% for determining the presence or absence of prostate cancer. Because I've been the doctor. And they say after you get to 50, and I'm 53 now, you should be on a yearly basis pretty much having a test in some way, PSA. And
Yeah,
you go
the
and ask
PSA
for a
test.
PSC test, a PSA test. And they say, yeah, but it's not very accurate, really. And that's the point. I mean, I think, is that where we're at in this day and age? So what do I wait for until I become ill or start bleeding in places or what? I mean, surely we can get something more accurate at this day and age without, yeah, but it's not very accurate. I mean, it's nonsense, isn't it? So you can have the
And yet
tech that
it's and
does,
yet it's widely adopted, exactly.
yeah,
And
I
I
know,
mean, testament to how difficult it is to change healthcare. It's that, if you do have a 94% test, then it's better to do that than a 55% test. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But changing it is not
yeah,
easy, and it won't happen overnight.
no, exactly. Oh, by the way, I've had on the podcast a while back, a few weeks back, I think it was, the reverse takeover of Amber Minerals, Extruded Pharmaceuticals,
Yeah,
now
yeah.
into
Now
cancer as well.
now
Another very good.
rechristened as
So much money
Chrism.
been spent in cancer. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've
so it's
seen. So
completed. The vote went through, the deal has been accepted by shareholders, and now
yeah,
now they're off to the races basically. So yeah, so the company's
yeah.
been relisted.
Okay, that's good. And it's been extremely
Unsuspended,
very interesting because,
unsuspended.
like I say, yeah. So almost 90% for approval acquisition. Yeah, 90%. So and this is another one where essentially it's very clever, isn't it? Because these things can be implanted.
Yeah.
into the brain, and it says the brain, what's the brain barrier? It's very
Yeah,
hard to
the
penetrate, isn't
blood-brain
it?
barrier, exactly. So
Yeah,
part of the problem with chemo, problem with brain cancers is that the brain has a natural mechanism to protect the brain from any kind of chemical, that you're exposed to. So if there's something in your blood, well, it won't necessarily reach your brain because it's a natural protection. The problem with that is if you're trying to get a chemotherapeutic agent to a tumor in your brain, then it's not going to get there, right? So we have very effective chemotherapeutic agents that we can't use for brain tumors. Here, they're implanting these chemoseeds, which is a known effective chemotherapeutic agent into the brain post-surgery. So you're not creating a surgery. You're not implanting them as a result of like you're not creating the requirement for
the
surgery.
evasion. Yeah,
There is already a
yeah,
requirement for surgery, and then post-surgically, you're leaving the chemotherapeutic agent there. So
yeah,
that's the main thrust of their product. Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, chemo seed, very interesting there. So um, in fact, this has turned into accidentally an oncology special. So you know, let me mention four companies. In fact, you can't go without mentioning Avacta. I know a lot of fans of Avacta saying when you mention Avacta, so because Avacta's out there, it's taken a bit of a hammering stock wise, and the share price has really fallen off a cliff here. We're at 41 pence. What's the market cap now? This, but I've actually got the
130,
precision technology as
140
well, where
roughly.
they saying it's 145 million. So
Yeah.
yeah, so they've got the precision technology that targets sort of cancer cells there, and they're going through phase 1A, I think it was. But yeah, a bit as far as I mean, have you ever looked into Avacta at all, Vadim, or not?
I find, it was very overvalued. Now it's getting a bit closer to, better value for potential buyers. Yeah, it's underwater from the placing. It's just the valuation is very high. Do you see what I mean? It's a phase one
Yeah,
asset priced. I guess it's priced like it should be priced on US by US standards, but it's an AIM company, right? And
yeah,
on AIM, you can find assets that are more advanced for 1/10 the price.
yeah. Okay, the fans won't be thanking you for that.
Well, no, I mean it's not.
No, but you are being honest and objective. You have no
I
position.
like the
You
technology
understand.
though. Don't
Yeah,
get
yeah,
me
yeah.
wrong. I actually
Mm,
think what they're doing is great. I think their technology is really good, actually. It's
yeah.
just that for a phase one asset in this market, it doesn't surprise me that eventually the price is going to start coming off, and it is.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of holders will say yes, but it's worth 20 times more than this, whatever. But you don't know that. We talked about lots of companies here with amazing technology. If Polarean OBD are two examples there
Mhm.
that come off in price because it's not as simple as having a technology. First of all, you've got to prove it clinically in some way, and then you've got to commercialize it. And so and those are very long, expensive processes.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
many companies have failed and gone through before they've even got the end of that. And so and that's the risk there. So
correct.
yeah, marvelous stuff. All right, have you bought or sold any shares recently, Vadim?
Have I bought anything recently? No, no, I haven't actually. I've been kind of
Okay.
what have I been doing? Nothing. I've been just holding. I haven't been offloading or anything. I've just been kind of neutral
Yeah.
in the market. Why? Because I feel like
Yeah.
we're at the end of the downturn. You're already seeing it, as you rightly pointed out in the beginning. The AIM all share is rallying. It won't be long before a lot of the biotech stocks that have been heavily hit will start rallying. And why? I've sold a few. I sold my Polarean because I knew that, ultimately there's a funding gap, and I just didn't know how it was going to get resolved. I've done that
Yeah.
a while back. Um, but some of them, it's kind of too late. You stick with them because if a rally is coming, well, you might as well just stay in, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we've all seen them. I've taken massive hits on a lot of stocks,
Yeah.
in biotech in particular. Some of them I think are going to rally again.
Yeah, well, I mean, largely those, the biotech stocks, like you say, who are almost pre-revenue or they're not generating cash, then they rely on fundraising, and fundraising has been massively hit to the market downturn, largely due to interest rates going up, and now that's we're starting to see maybe the start of the end of that.
Yeah,
So you can
exactly.
assume. they will start to rally again. So
Exactly.
there we are. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Anyway, because it's good for everyone, regardless of what products. If you're in any, if you're in the market in small cap stocks or even micro cap stocks, the general market rally is good for everyone because more money
Yep.
comes in and everyone's stocks goes up.
They say
Marvelous.
a tide lifts all boats, right? A high
It
tide
does.
lifts all
Yeah.
boats.
That's yeah. You put it succinctly there. I went around the houses a bit. Marvelous stuff. Cheers for that, Vadim. Speak to you next week.
Excellent. Thanks, Justin.